and welcome to Education Talk. Today we'll be looking at some schools in the country that believe that nothing is impossible when it comes to achieving excellence all round. And one of these schools is Hyde Park School in London. They aim for excellence in all they do. The head teacher, Mrs. Hilary Wyatt, is here with us in the studios today to tell us more. Mrs. Hilary, you're very welcome to our studios. You have 25 years experience and you're an ISI team inspector. That's
Indeed.
a lot of experience.
Yes, it is.
You're very welcome.
It is. Thank
I
you.
also have here on set with me is Professor Chris Imafidon, a leading educationist and an advisor to government when it comes to policies on education. Professor Chris, you're very welcome to our studios.
Thank you for inviting me, Wilma. How are you today?
Very well, very well. You're welcome. Let's start with you, Hilary. Your
Yes.
school is rated as one of the best in London. Now, what is your philosophy on education?
Well, I believe, very similar to Professor Chris, that every child is a genius. And it's our job as educators to draw that genius out, draw out the brilliance. And if we can do that, the child will reach their full potential. Now, in order to do that, you have to create an environment where the children feel safe, where it's calm, where they're stimulated and where they're excited by learning. And I have found through my years of teaching, I keep teaching, that keeps me going. I love being in the classroom.
Okay.
I found that if you can engage children, making your lessons exciting, they will learn and they'll want to learn more. And I went to school in England for the first part of my education, and then I went to school in America. And I remember my first lesson in an American school, and the teacher, the history teacher, had dressed up as a cowboy. And he stood with his foot on the desk, and he had a hat on, and he taught about American history in a way I hadn't seen a teacher do before. He was so passionate and in love with his subject. And every day that I went to that school in Boulder, Colorado, I ran in to find out what was going on next. And I thought, if I'm ever head of a school, I want my school to be like that, where every day the children are thinking, what's going to happen next? Where's the adventure? And I think we have created that at Hyde Park School.
So it's actually not just teaching from the textbook, but, you know, practicalizing it in the class for the children to see.
Absolutely.
How do you deal with children who come from homes? Because you say you believe every child is a genius.
Yes.
Now, how how do you deal with a child who has come from a home where he doesn't really believe that he's a genius?
Okay, we tell them they are. If you as a teacher have very high expectations of your class, what you're looking for is, why isn't that child achieving? What's the barrier to learning? And very often it's an idea about their confidence, or they might need a little bit of help. They might not actually know their phonic sounds, and therefore they're finding reading difficult. You need to analyse why that child isn't achieving, why their brilliance isn't showing, and find a way through. And as a teacher, that's what I've always done, is believed in every child. This child can achieve, and they will achieve with the right support, the right teaching, and the right stimulation.
Dr. Chris, let's come to you. You've mentored a lot of children, and you've also mentored parents when it comes to raising achievements in the home amongst their kids. How do we deal with parents who feel my child can't actually achieve very much because I've tried so many times and they have lots of learning disabilities? I don't even know if the child can get a subject. Let's talk about maths, and the parent think my child can't ever make it in maths.
You demonstrate to them very clearly by giving the child a set of exercises to do in your presence. And having gone through those basic exercises, the child will now do the second set of exercises with the parent. So you are no longer there, you're not supporting the child is now going through that set of exercises. And you give the parent a marking scheme. The parents will mark it for themselves, and they will know that their so-called child with learning disability, or their so-called child that is not able, has really not been stimulated, like Hilary said. If you stimulate it, if there's light in the room, if you switch it off, there'll be darkness. Now, if you stimulate learning and get the child to know that learning is a pleasurable exercise, because, I didn't know that you could multiply 11 by 2 and get 22. Or I didn't know that. I mean, the fact that it's just discovery, that's what drives any child. It's a human instinct. So I can never ever get myself to understand why people believe that they have a divine certificate or badge of dumbness. There is nobody that was made dumb. Every single person was created a genius, and what we need to do is switch on that genius in the child. So we are not doing anything but discovering how best to support that child in any circumstance. And you start again by their interest. Like you said, you identify the child's interest.
Yes.
You play to the child's interest. That's what they play to it. You don't just talk to it. So when you engage the child responds. You will analyze the child's response and be able to say, okay, this is what I need to do. This is why I need to do it. If I'm able to do X, Y, and Z, then this will happen. And that's what happens. You just need to be keen and passionate.
Yeah, thank you so much. Hilary, let's talk about one of your passions. You're so passionate about stretching the more able pupils in your school, which is Hyde Park School. Why?
Because I think in this country, we do the right thing by looking after children who don't achieve so well. We do a lot, and in our school we have a lot of support for children who might find English difficult, they might have problems because they haven't had the foundations put in place. But it's actually those children who achieve a lot who we need to look at as well. So if those children are not being stimulated because their teacher thinks, actually, this lesson we're doing this is all we're doing. If the child already knows that, then they're going to be bored in that lesson. And I know as a teacher, I have done it myself, those children who have finished all the work in the lesson, you say, colour it in, go and read a book, or go and help your friend. So you actually stop teaching those children. And that limits those children, and they very often, I find, become a little bit disruptive, a bit fed up with learning. So as a head, my job is to not only support those children who do have particular difficulties, but to stretch that able group beyond what you might think they can do. So they come into school as well thinking, where's the adventure? What am I going to learn today beyond what I already know? And there is nothing more tedious, and I'm sure all of us have been in that situation, of being taught the same thing again and again when you've already got the concept. So we have this Maths Unlimited club for children who find maths concepts easy. I'm not saying they're necessarily more able, but they find maths concepts easy. So from year 1 all the way up to year 6, we have a club after school where they're given challenging questions, lots and lots of stretch. And you go into the room and the professor's there with his team, and you've got children excited about learning again because they've very often not been stimulated enough in their class. So I say to the teachers, right, you've got a very, very bright set of children in your class who find maths very easy. What are you going to do to challenge them? So what we've actually done at Hyde Park School is put the children into different groups for phonics and maths, and they're different groups. So you might find phonics difficult, in which case you'll be in a phonics group to help you with that. But you might find maths easy, and so you'll be in a different group for maths, and it's across 3-year groups. So you might be in year 4, but be working on the year 6 curriculum.
There was something important you mentioned. The very fact that they find maths concepts easy doesn't necessarily mean that they're more able.
Absolutely.
And you're able to distinguish that amongst the students.
Yes. And there are some children that just get number. They just get number, and it might be their parents at home get number. What I do find is the parental influence is very important. So if you have a parent who says, I'm useless at maths, I can't possibly do maths, I've always been bad at maths, that very often is transferred to the child. And when the child needs help with their homework, the parents go, oh, I can't do this, it's too difficult. So it's really getting the parents confident, getting the children confident, and just driving this excellence forward.
Which means you have a very good support system for parents as well.
Yes, we do. So we run workshops for parents, and the parents can actually request workshops. So last week there was a workshop for helping children with reading from the early years in year 1. We've had workshops on helping your children in all sorts of areas. And the parents can say, we need a workshop, and we'll put it on, and the teachers will run the workshops. So it's parental support. We also ask the parents to come into school. They can learn Latin at our school.
Really?
Yeah, there's parental yoga before school on a Tuesday morning between 8 and 8:45. The teachers and the parents can do yoga to relax. And we have calligraphy on a Thursday. So I think the parents need to model learning as well as the children. So we've got a whole community of learners.
Let's look at the groups you actually have in the class, which you mentioned. You group the children, your pupils, not according to age, but according to ability.
Yes, just in phonics and in maths.
Just in phonics and maths.
Yes, so they're in their age group for class time, form time, and the rest of the lessons. But for phonics and maths, we do particular groupings. Yeah.
So the children who get the concepts easier can actually advance faster than their peers, even though the peers...
Absolutely, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dr. Chris, the support system in school, that is something a lot of parents have complained about. Some schools don't actually give enough support to the parents, and the parents don't even know what's happening to the child educationally.
That's what's so unique about Hyde Park School, because most schools exclude the parents from the key decision making, exclude the parents from what the school is doing. Not one, almost like saying territorial. This is my area. I'm a professional. Stay out of it. But I can never ever understand that, because the parent is a key member of the team.
Yep.
If the parent wants to sabotage the effort of the school, they can easily do that. And like Hilary was saying, you cannot tell your son or your daughter, oh, I was really, really rubbish at English, therefore I can't help you with English. It's because you were so-called, quote-unquote, rubbish in English. Why? Because somebody told you were rubbish in English. If you were given the right support and guidance, you'll be excellent in music. Our knowledge of any particular subject is a function of who expose us to those materials. It's not the level of difficulty of the materials themselves. So confessing such negative things and allowing it to come out of your mouth, it's a disaster. And any parent listening now, you should begin to think seriously about bragging about how weak you are in any subject in front of your child.
So which means parents out there, no matter the challenges the parents have faced in the particular subject, that shouldn't be transferred to the child.
Absolutely.
And that doesn't mean that the child can't excel in that subject.
Yes. Yes, you don't limit, because you found it difficult, you don't limit your child in that way. And if you as a parent need to go back to school, if you need to do a course so you can help your child, that's important.
Is that something you find very often in school, where the parents try to limit the child that way?
I have a lot of children say, Mummy's no good at maths, or Daddy's no good at this, or writing, or whatever. And it does transfer. It does. So you need a positive home environment where learning is seen as fun, challenging, and everyone is a learner. So I think everybody should be learning. All my teachers can attend Latin, they can go to calligraphy, the yoga, and we're going to be bringing on more courses as well for the staff, parents, and the teachers. Everybody is learning.
Interesting.
And the children need to see that happening, role modelling. So they see the teachers going with their homework into a class. And why not? And they say, I go to the Latin class on a Friday, and I model, learning Latin. I haven't learnt it before, but I want to learn. So it's getting everybody in the community a learner. I think that's really important.
Everybody in the community a learner. What else makes Hyde Park School unique?
Okay, so we have, we're very, very lucky where we're located. So we are opposite Imperial College. So this week, our children have had a science week, and they've actually been taught by PhD students from Imperial College.
Interesting. Primary school.
Yes, I've just come from an assembly that was being taken by one of the professors to the whole school about science. And yesterday, all the children from year 1 to year 6 went in lab coats to Imperial College, went behind the scenes and watched people doing experiments. And they've all brought their own experiments into school, the children, on the back of that. And it's alive, it's exciting. So we've got Hyde Park riding stables, so the children can go riding as part of a PE lesson. They can do tennis as part of there's Hyde Park Tennis Club. We also work with not only Imperial College, but Goldsmiths University. We're doing a language project with them at the moment, with the Film Institute. And our children are doing a bilingual language project where some of our year 6 pupils are filming the younger children telling stories in their language. And the children have been to learn how to make a film, how to edit, how to translate. I mean, it's remarkable.
Age 10?
Yeah. So they're leading the younger children in a storytelling about fairness workshop. And that will then be at the Film Institute. So anything that comes our way, we say, why not? Let's have a go.
So they are getting prepared for life very early.
Very early on.
And ready to face challenges and take on risks.
And have confidence.
And have
It's
confidence.
really important. Yeah.
Why do you assess your children at the beginning and at the end of the academic sessions? That's some of the things you do.
So it's very, very important that we know what they know and what they don't know. Simple. So at the beginning of the year, we have a very thorough testing system, which doesn't take a lot of time, and the children enjoy it. So it's an interactive computerized system, which gives us a reading age. It breaks down some of the maths that they know. I can track the progress of the children using this test from the beginning of the year and then the end of the academic year. So I can see that child hasn't actually learnt this. Why not? Do we need to put in an intervention? Is there a problem? Or maybe they had a bad day on the test day. But you need data. So we not only do beginning and end of the academic year, but throughout the year we're using an assessment system called learning ladders, where the teacher is saying, right, they've learnt this, now the next target is this, and they work with the child with the learning ladders. So you need to know what the child can do and what their next step is. Otherwise you're not going to be stretching them, are you? So if you don't have a handle on it, you can't pass it on to the parents either. So parents like data. They like to know where their child is, and they like to know where the successes are, and also where the child's going to need some more support.
What about parents who come complaining that they feel some of the children are under exam stress, especially the Year 6 pupils? How do you deal with that? So
with the Year 6s, I teach the Year 6s, and I do a special PSHME lesson on stress and the effect of stress. And we talk about becoming aware that you are feeling stressed, for a start, acknowledging it. Then we talk about what stress does to your mind, how it stops you thinking intuitively. We talk about what it does to your body and how it can make you feel tired. And we actually look at strategies for the Year 6 before they go and do all their exams, strategies for calming themselves. We have classical music, playing relaxing music in the classrooms and the hallway. We talk about breathing, coming into the present moment, being aware of how your body is reacting to the stress. Because in an exam, if they become stressed, they're not going to do their best. So we teach them breathe, relax, come into the moment, have a go, and just do your best. And we teach them that no matter what happens, we're going to care about them anyway, and we're going to be proud of them.
Some of the children are from homes that are dysfunctional, so the stress has sometimes got nothing to do with the school, but from the home. How do you deal with that? I
mean, I wouldn't call our families dysfunctional as such, because they all function very well. But it's the parents that transmit the stress to the children very often, I find. So we're actually teaching the parents to become more relaxed themselves. So your children live in our emotional atmosphere as parents and teachers. So if you as a parent are stressed, your child will pick up on that stress. And so you need to manage your stress as a parent. They have to be very careful what messages they're giving their children subliminally before an exam. Does that child think that if they don't get into that particular school or they don't pass, that parent is going to disapprove of them? Because that is the worst feeling for a child, is to go into an exam thinking they're not going to approve of me, mummy's not going to be proud. So it's giving the message that you're going to care about them whatever happens. You will support that child, and try not to put your own stress and your own pressure onto that poor little being who's doing their very, very best. So at school we also do a little module on famous failures as well. And we talk about, the children do a little project on a person who seemed to fail in life but then did very, very well. And we talk about becoming a resilient person. So you can deal with anything. So if you haven't got into the school you want, let's look at what we can do next. You know, you're still a good person. So I think that's really, really important. The message for the children is.
That's important. You know, Professor Chris, let's come to you. Can you give us some practical examples of how parents can encourage their kids at home?
Like we said earlier, if you're doing anything at home, the children copy you. So if you know the children have exams to write, the worst thing you can do is put on the television while the child is preparing for their exam. So you pick up the newspaper and read, or you pick up some books and read, because it becomes a reading culture. Everybody's doing it. And then it's not a matter of go to your room and do some work. You've got to be hands-on. You've got to find out what paper do you have next a day. How far have you gone? Why are you afraid of the paper? Let's have a look at them together. This day is so easy for you to go and download. You can go on our website. You can download a past paper. You can download the marking scheme. So you don't have to be a subject specialist to look at the marking scheme and help your son or your daughter with aspects of what they are looking. They just sometimes want to be able to talk to somebody that connects with what they are doing, understands what they are doing, or invite them to come home with a friend or a colleague, and you can sit down together and chat about it and work through. If you find out that the difficulty you are having, your classmate also has it, then it's something communal. You don't have to be really, really uptight about that. So it's a very practical thing, making it a group thing, not isolated. Then you find out that the whole family will be involved in it, and everybody will love learning. Learning is supposed to be a social thing, a group thing, not individual.
There was something you mentioned, Hilary, about your children. They learn in a fun way.
Yes.
Tell us the importance of that, making sure that the lessons are fun for the children.
At Hyde Park School, we do all sorts of very unusual things. So we have, for instance, a pair of rabbits who live at school. And it's fascinating. So I went in to watch reception, and they were doing number, and they were counting carrots. And they were, talking about the rabbits, how many hops they did. So, you can make it wonderful fun. So we've got rabbits. We hatch chicks.
Yes, that's right.
So we had 20 chicks, 10 on each site, hatching in an incubator that the children could watch them hatch. We've got ladybirds, larvae in the hallway. We've got fish. The children love being in a stimulating environment which is coming to life for them. And all the teachers, a little boy was upset this morning because he couldn't do his science experiment, and so the teacher just took him out to stroke a rabbit. It's these sort of, children need nature, I think. They love to have the horse riding program that we've got. The children have, one of the hours is looking after the horse, and they groom the horse and learn how to feed it, and they come back from those lessons really calm. So I think it should be fun. No day should be dull, and it should be memorable.
So just before we go, what advice would you have for parents who have children sitting exams?
I think it's very, very important that the parent understands the pressure they are subtly putting on that child. Really be self-aware. What messages are you giving your child? Support them, care for them, make sure they get enough sleep, make sure they get enough exercise, make sure they're eating properly. It's all the sort of basic needs they need to make sure. But then have some fun with them as well. Turn off the mobile phone, turn off the telly, sit down and talk to the child. How are you feeling? And explain to the child that the parent might be feeling worried as well. Share your feelings with them and let them know that you care about them whatever happens, and you are proud of them for doing their best.
Professor Chris, do you have anything to add to that?
Please, as a parent, get hold of the timetable for the exam. Know the subjects they are doing which day. Even if you are not home, give them a call. Say, how was the paper today? And if they say it was a tough paper, okay, that's fine. Don't dwell too much on it. Let's look at what you have tomorrow. So really, if you cannot physically be at home to receive them, be able to be at the other end of the phone to be able to reassure them and say, okay, let's not brood over what happened today. Let's focus on tomorrow. Let's see whether we can score more marks in tomorrow's paper. It's always very useful. So you take them off the bad side and you look forward to the future. And reassure them that exam should be in perspective. It's not it's not a do or die thing. There are people, like Hilary said, famous failures that have gone through it before, felt as if they were failures when they were 16-year-old and 17-year-old, and they became billionaires. So it's not all. Don't even think of thinking of yourself as a failure in light of one exam that you can come back tomorrow or another time and do better in. So I don't believe people
Thank
should
you
put
so
so much
much.
emphasis on one exam.
Thank you, Professor
Okay,
Chris. Thank you, Hilary,
Thank
for
you.
coming on. Well, viewers, this is Education Talk. Today we've been looking at some schools in the capital who believe nothing is impossible and they can achieve excellence all round with the kids. And for parents out there who have children sitting exams and are wondering what to do, you can send emails to educationtalk@loveworldtv.co.uk. In the meantime, enjoy the rest of our programs.